difference in that. Hey,
Hardly diddly.
Hadley, ho there, neighborino. What's happening, everybody?
Oh, it's freaking sweet.
Why that caught me off guard? Oh, crap.
Oh, God. I just took a poop.
Yeah, there we go.
I've got a nice cup of tea. Very nice cup of tea. Check that out.
I like that. It's nice. This would have been.
Ow.
Well, hey, the heck are you, everybody? This is. Did you just burn your mouth? Yeah, you did. Burn the shit out of your mouth.
It's okay, though. It burns so good.
Is that a thing?
It's okay. It burns so good.
Yeah. My venereal disease just burns so good when I pee. It's like, no, it really don't there, dude. Not at all. Well, how is everybody? Welcome back to the Battle Bros podcast with Mac and Alamo. This handsome guy, this is Alamo. I'm Mac. I'm going to explain to you why I'm a friggin' idiot in just a few minutes. So, yeah. If you're joining us for the first time, we're just a couple of buddies that know each other for... You shut up and don't ruin my thing here, man. If you are joining us for the first time, we're a couple of buddies from high school. We've known each other a long damn time. I don't even know exactly how long. It doesn't matter. It's not important. We just know each other pretty well. So, we have this little passion project called the Battle Bros Podcast. Check it out. Feel free to go on to any one of our social media profiles on X, Facebook, YouTube, anything like that. Check it out. It is worth the gander. Check it out. Yeah, so Indeed. Here we are. This is kind of a cool episode we got going on tonight, man. It's going to be a little bit of a special one. It is episode 075 of the Battle Bros Podcast. So it's like we decided to do something a little bit fun tonight for our topic. Before we get into that, we're going to recap a little bit from last week. So last week we talked about the subject of esprit de corps and why that is dreadfully important. Hold on just a minute. Let me just unplug that because that's flickering already. There we go. Esprit de corps, as I mentioned on 074. That was a good conversation. Go back, check that out. All that good stuff. Before we get into our topic for this week, let's talk about what's going on in the news. So, as I said, my name is Mac, and I'm a bloomin' idiot because...
Oh, you're actually going to talk about it?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about this.
Okay.
I'm going to do something that news journalists and professionals don't do anymore. They tell the truth and they're transparent. So let's gather around the fireplace, everybody. So we were looking up news articles this week, and my dumbass forgot that it was April Fool's. So there was an article. They said, "Oh, the Navy has just made their first submarine with a Caterpillar drive." Now, if anybody thinks, why have I heard that before? Yes, you have if you've seen the movie The Hunt for Red October. It is the magneto hydro drive, which apparently can cause a submarine to be like almost stealthy underwater. It makes no noise. There's no prop string, all that kind of crap. And I'm thinking, wow. So now here's where things go off the freaking rails here, people. I actually thought to myself, wow, if they're releasing this information to the public, it can't be the first one. They've already must have this as operational on other subs. They're just letting everybody know. And then I was like, man, what a cool time to be alive. All this sci-fi tech and all this crazy stuff that we saw in movies growing up and TV shows is coming to life. Like on Next Generation, on Star Trek, they had little pads that had little freaking information. Now we have iPads, for God's sake. And here we are. We've got the freaking Caterpillar drive from Red October in American submarines.
And then soon we'll have an impulse drive and then the hyperdrive.
I'm sure we will, but I'm just reading this, and then I was like looking at the article, and I was like, ah, fuck. I just totally fell for that shit. Ah, man.
In case you folks didn't know, at the very bottom, it ended up saying, oh, by the way, April Fools.
Yeah, I was a freshman in high school who believed, hey, there's a pool up on the roof of the 3rd story of our old high school. It's like, this guy. But on to some other news that is actually legit as hell. So let's talk about that, shall we?
Indeed.
So so these two articles, although they have nothing to do with one another, they're actually on opposite ends of the spectrum of good leadership. So we're gonna talk about that for a little bit. Good military leadership, which is kind of the leadership scale, I should say. There's one on the far left and one on the far right, and we'll kind of go from there. So the I didn't open those up. Poopy. That's not what I meant to do. We're gonna do that. And then we need to do, sorry folks, I completely messed up here. So one of the channels that Alamo and I both follow is a guy by the name of Angry Cops, Richard High. He is a police officer up in, I believe, in Buffalo, New York, but he's also been in the Army for a while. I believe he's an E6, E7. Drill sergeant, combat engineer, PSYOPs, does a whole bunch of cool stuff. Had a video on his channel earlier this week, which you'll have to go look at it. It is basically talking about how there was a article that was on the official U.S. Navy Facebook page, and it had a picture of a male enlisted sailor who was sitting here, and it looked like they're getting ready to do some welding. And it says in the story that this particular sailor has the rating of a hull technician. And I'm going from the article and whatnot, the video that he showed. This is somebody who is responsible for the upkeep and repair and upkeep, as I said, of the hull on board of the. I believe he's on an aircraft carrier. He's assigned an aircraft carrier of some type. So in the picture, you see him wearing his work gloves, and he's got his little stick for the stick welder and whatnot. Mind you, this is on the Navy official U.S. Navy Facebook page, right? If you look closely at the photo in this article, on the knuckles of the gloves is written, "I eat ass," with a heart. The guy has "I eat ass" written on it. So immediately I'm sitting there going, that's awesome. Yeah. So here's what Paul Harvey would call the rest of the story. Oh, you pulling it up? There you go. Yeah, there it is. Yep. "I eat ass" on his Miller welding gloves as he's punching away, getting ready to do something. Thank you, Alamo, for showing that picture. "I eat ass." Yep. "I eat ass" with a heart. Hey, indeed. Must be a Navy thing. Who knows? Whatever. Okay, so here's the dicked up part. So nobody caught this until it got posted onto the official Navy Facebook page. This particular sailor got 40 or 45 days of extra duty because of that. It's seriously, you guys didn't, the mass communications specialist who took the freaking photo or whatnot didn't catch this shit before it went all the way up to the, seriously, and you're gonna blame this guy? That is the quintessential junior enlisted type of dumb fuckery that we do in the military. Why are you punishing him and telling him not to be who he really is? A freaking junior enlisted dude who is just trying. Hey, don't take my work gloves. Mine are the ones that say I eat ass. Give them back. That's how you tell. That's exactly how you tell. And it's just like, let's not blame anybody up, responsible for putting that up on Facebook.
Military trained journalism, folks. Military trained journalism. That's what it is.
So that's the one spectrum. On the opposite side of the spectrum, the Army has incurred the wrath. Well, a couple of people who are leadership at Fort Bliss, Texas, have incurred the wrath of others in the military of jealousy. Army Major General James P. Eisenhower III, not spelled as a president, commanding general of the 1st Armored Division and Fort Bliss, has authorized soldiers at the Texas base to wear boonie hats in garrison. Like, yeah, let's freaking do that. Absolutely. I mean, that's a good example of guys being like, hey, let's do something good. We're not in wartime anymore. We're in garrison more often now. Like, let's stop playing around and being ridiculous. So it says pretty much that they are allowed to wear, it's officially known as the sun hat, but everybody knows it as a boonie. If you know it, it's a boonie. Okay, so let's not mince words. So here are the guidelines, because anytime we have new rules and stuff, you gotta put out guidance and guidelines for this kind of stuff. The guidelines state only officially issued boonie hats are allowed. No commercial lookalikes are permitted. They can only be worn in formations if all soldiers wear them. That's the kind of thing everybody gets together and goes, hey, if you don't have your boonie hat, you are effing wrong, and you will go to the wood line and I'll smoke the dog shit out of you. Soldiers cannot wear boonie hats indoors. Soldiers temporarily assigned to Fort Bliss and visitors are allowed to wear boonie hats. During outdoor ceremonies, all soldiers must either wear boonie hats or patrol caps. Soldiers cannot wear both types of covers at the event, so one or the other. Temperature is not a factor that determines when soldiers can wear boonie hats. Wear a boonie hat with the freaking the polar fleece and stuff. Hell yeah, I'd rock that crap. Absolutely. Wear all your snivel bitch gear, and then freaking your boonie on top of it. Do it. Send me a picture of that shit. I want to see it.
Hey.
Soldiers will wear boonie hats on top of their heads so that the webbing creates a straight line around their heads that is parallel to the ground. No hair on soldiers' foreheads beneath the boonie hat can be visible. Obviously, if you got long hair tucking underneath the damn hat. Boonie hat's drawstring can be worn under the chin. No, incorrect. Drawn snugly using the cord fastener to the bottom of the chin. No, again, don't do that. Around the back of the head and neck, and drawn to the back or tucked inside the hat. Those are the only two ways to wear it. If you're that dork that's wearing it under your chin, looking like, if you're trying to look British and stuff, where you've got it, up under your chin, like this kind of stuff, no, incorrect. Not correct at all. Under the hat, back of the head, that's the only thing that's allowed. You heard it here first, Mac. Sergeant Major Mac has spoken. What else? Oh yeah. So obviously, and this is a spec for Mafia right here. Boonie hats cannot be work rolled, formed, shaped, or blocked with an upturned brim. So no doing the whole freaking Jesse Ventura from Predator. I ain't got time to bleed. Any of that kind of bullshit. Don't do that. Rank insignias must be pinned or sewed on boonie hats, worn centered on the front of the hat, left to right, up and down. Soldiers will not sew name tapes on their boonie hats. I mean, listen, you wear it on the back of the patrol cap, so why not just put on the boonie hat? Just call it a day. So, but again, you see that is, and everybody that says that has been that I've seen has said they've been stationed at Fort Bliss. Like, the sun in Texas is something different. Like, it sucks. Like, you're just outside all day. You're doing like a work detail or something. Put it like. That's the only damn hat that I wore in Afghanistan. The only time I wore my PC was when we had to for a formation where everybody had to be in the same thing. I did like a Memorial Day ceremony. So I was on like a firing party or some crazy stuff. I don't remember. But we had to wear a PC and all that kind of stuff. But like, yeah, Boonie hats. I wear a boonie hat like all the time here in Florida, man. I ain't trying to get, especially with this pale nugget. Like, I'm not trying to do that. But again, you see two opposite ends of the leadership spectrum. Let's
honestly, I wore my boonie.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying I wore my boonie a lot. Freaking, really, honestly, only up until freaking leadership set. Like, because what it was is like we all had to be obviously Army regs. We all had to be uniform, so it was either you wear your PC or you wear your boonie. You don't wear it's one or the other. It can't be mixed. If one of us is wearing a PC, all of us are wearing a PC. If one of us is wearing a boonie, all of us are wearing a boonie. That's the freaking that's the what you call it. That's how we did it over there. If one of us lost our boonie, guess what? We were all wearing PCs, which ended up unfortunately happening.
And then you find somebody's like, dude, I'm gonna give you a spare boonie, and I'm gonna frog the crap. I'm gonna like knee you right in the freaking thigh and blood stripe your leg, you little bastard. Like, don't f up again. Fuck it up. So, but again, you see how you have two separate ends of the leadership spectrum. Let's hem a guy up because leadership did not catch a video that depicts a sailor repairing hull plates on a vessel of the United States Navy wearing work gloves that say, quote, IES with a heart on it. Because, it would be all kind of warm and fuzzy. And then on the other end,
awesome.
you have people saying, let's approve boonie hats for garrison use. Hell yeah, absolutely. Let's make that happen. Let's do it. So there you go. That's the news for this week.
Because they were not allowed. Like, you got this one thing, you guys. One thing, like those of you guys who are not like well versed in like freaking what we as the military do, like the boonie was never freaking allowed in Garrett. Like, you might be able to wear it at training, but even then they were like, get that shit off your head. What are you doing? Rabble. You know, like you'd be like the butt of a joke if you did that. Okay. And that includes, it didn't matter if you were National Guard, active duty, like Albrecht, you wore that crap. That was your ass. Now in theater, like, I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys were the same too, Mac, that freaking, if in theater, they didn't give a damn. You just had to make sure that it was either everybody was wearing one or the other. That was the case, right? I mean, it was the same for you guys, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I got switched to a line squad. I got switched out of weapon squad to a line squad, and they were just like, we wear PCs here. I'm like, it doesn't matter because we're gonna be wearing Kevlar outside the wire anyway. So if I'm wearing headgear, I'm gonna be going to the chow hall. I'm gonna wear a boonie hat. So I'm like. And they were trying to do their own thing and like just like whatever. It's just like stupid little fuck games that guys play when they're in the Army. So whatever. Nothing against those guys. I'm just like I wasn't a cool kid that was in that squad from the start. I got transferred in like, we called it the 7th. Like we had to move some guys around because of different personalities conflicting. So we called it Operation 7th Inning Stretch. So guys got moved from here to there, this and that, to and fro, whatever. All I'm saying is, hey, Sir General Eisenhower III, commanding general of Fort Bliss and 1st Armored Division. Good for you, sir. Rock on. Fucking keep going. So awesome shit. They actually had a picture on their Facebook page too. I forget, or somewhere, where they had the general, they had the sergeant major, and some specialist that was wearing all that stuff. It's like, all right, cool.
Some special lips.
Now, there's also some other things too. Like you can wear it if you've gone through the Army Jungle Jungle Operations Training course out at Schofield Barracks, Hawaii. Nice. But yeah, they also had some other stuff in here about the different berets and all this kind of crap. But like, whatever.
You're a beret.
So. Anyway, so let's get to our topic for this week. Now that we've done all that kind of nonsense, so. If you caught our show previously a few weeks ago, we talked about the significance of the Irish immigration of Irish folks that came over to America and took part in the Revolutionary War.
Significantly underplayed, by the way, according to the research I saw.
Yes. all of a sudden I got a frog in my throat. My throat's all dry and stuff. Crap. So
What's your whistle?
I did wet my whistle. So after we get done with the show, we talk about it, and then we were still like, man, doing the history stuff is fun. So we decided, since this is episode 075, we are 3/4 of the way to the century mark. So it's like awesome sauce. We decided we're gonna have a little bit of fun, and we're gonna talk
centennial
about
episode.
Yeah, we're getting close. It's hard to believe we're almost there, man. So in episode
I
one,
know,
season
right?
5, we'll hit the hundo mark, century mark. It'll be
Mhm.
awesome. So for this week, we're gonna talk about the historical origins of challenge coins. So we were sitting around the other day and we were kind of talking about some of the different things, challenge coins that we've had, and we kind of were just sitting there, like, let's talk about it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Let's go into this Damn it.
God bless you. God bless you again.
The algae this week have been shit. Absolute shit. Everything's got that yellow fuzz on it.
I agree.
I killed 3 of them fuzzy yellow caterpillars at work this week. I'm just like,
you didn't touch them, did you?
Watch. No, I stabbed them with a little piece of mulch and stick. And
Nice. Yeah.
Doing this kind of crap. So
yeah, you don't want that crap on your skin. That shit burns.
Oh hell no. No. So, what is a challenge coin? For those of you who don't know, challenge coins it's a small coin or medallion bearing an organization's insignia or emblem and carried by the organization's different members. According to Wikipedia, traditionally they have been given to prove membership when asked and to enhance morale. They're also collected by service members and law enforcement personnel. Historically, challenge coins were presented by unit commanders in recognition of special achievement by a member of the unit. They could also be exchanged in recognition of visits to an organization. Okay, so here's kind of the interesting thing. Nobody really knows for certain. I mean, yes, they do, depending on who you ask, but there are several different theories and kind of origin stories of how challenge coins came to be. So, and this is an article that we found on Wikipedia on doing some research on this. So there are several stories detailing the origins of the challenge coin. The Roman Empire rewarded soldiers by representing them with these coins to recognize their achievements. In Rome, if soldiers excelled in battle one day, they would receive their typical day's wages along with a separate bonus coin each. According to some accounts, these bonus coins were specially minted, featuring the marks of the legions from which they came. As a result, some soldiers apparently kept their coins as mementos instead of spending them. They were also known as portrait medals during the Renaissance and were often used to commemorate specific events involving royalty, nobility, and other types of well-to-do individuals. The medals were given as gifts or awards, and people exchanged them with friends and associates. So it goes into several different ones. Now, according to one story, challenge coins originated during World War I. Before the entry of the United States into the war in 1917, American volunteers from all parts of the country filled the newly formed flying squadrons of the Army and Naval Air Service. Some were wealthy scions attending colleges such as Yale, Harvard, who quit in midterm to join the war. In one squadron, a wealthy lieutenant ordered medallions struck in solid bronze and presented them to his unit. One young pilot placed the medallion in a small leather pouch that he wore around his neck. Shortly after acquiring the medallion, the pilot's aircraft was severely damaged by ground fire. He was forced to land behind enemy lines and was immediately captured by a German patrol. In order to discourage his escape, the Germans took all of his personal identification except for the small leather pouch around his neck. In the meantime, he was taken to a small French town near the front. Taking advantage of a bombardment that night, he escaped. However, he was without personal identification. He succeeded in avoiding German patrols by donning civilian attire and reached the front lines. With great difficulty, he crossed no man's land. Eventually, he stumbled onto a French outpost. Saboteurs had plagued the French in this particular sector. They sometimes masqueraded as civilians and wore civilian clothes. Not recognizing the young pilot's American accent, the French thought him to be a saboteur and made ready to execute him. He had no identification to prove his allegiance, but he did have his leather pouch containing the medallion. He showed the medallion to his would-be executioners, and one of his French captors recognized the squadron insignia on the medallion. They delayed the execution long enough for him to confirm his identity. Instead of shooting him, they gave him a bottle of wine. Boy, I need some French shit. We were going to shoot you, but have some wine. Back at the squadron, it became tradition to ensure that all members
That was a
carry their medallion.
terrible French accent, by the way.
I know, dude, my allergies are getting
We-
crazy again.
We were going to shoot you, but instead we just decided to give you some wine. Here you go, monsieur l'Américain. Tous les mots français.
Whatever, there, Frenchie. I don't care. The squadron became tradition to ensure all members carried their medallion or coin at all times. This was accompanied through the challenge in the following manner. A challenger would ask to see the medallion. If the challenged could not produce a medallion, they were required to buy a drink of choice for the member who challenged them, the challenger. If the challenged member produced a medallion, then the challenger was required to pay for the drink. This tradition continued throughout the war and for many years after the war, while surviving members of the squadron were still alive. Now, that's kind of the same way it works today, from what I understand. I've never actually had this happen to me just because I was never on active duty. And we really didn't. When I was out in a bar and stuff, I wasn't drinking. I was usually kind of just making sure guys, kept their pants on and weren't doing dumb shit to get arrested in town and stuff. So, but yeah, if you take a coin, slam it onto the table or the bar top or whatnot, somebody else, if they don't have one, then they're buying the round. If they do produce it, then you're the challenger, the person that initiated the challenge.
For example, you
drink.
take it and you go, guess what?
And then I take my big one here like this, and I go, and I slam it down. Because my coin is bigger than your coin, your pal. Not that it matters, but
It's right there, buckle.
so now hold on a minute. There we go. According to another story, challenge coins date back to World War II and were first used by the Office of Strategic Service personnel who were deployed in Nazi-held France. Similarly, Jim Harrington proposed a Jolly Sixpence Club amongst the junior officers for his 107th Infantry. The coins were simply a local coin used as bona fides during a personal meeting to help verify a person's identity. There would be specific aspects such as the type of coin, date of coin that were examined by each party. This helped prevent infiltration into the meeting by a spy who would have to have advanced knowledge of the meeting, time, and place, as well as what coin was to be presented, amongst other signals as bona fides. So, but yeah, so, the other article that we kind of picked up on was one that was actually from defense.gov, and it's their article called "The Challenge Coin Tradition." How do you know how it started? This is dated October 8th of 2017. I'm going to read through this real quick. It says, if you've been in the military or worked for the Defense Department, you know what a challenge coin is. They've been an American military tradition for a century, meant to instill unit pride, improve esprit de corps, and reward hard work and excellence. The coins represent anything from a small unit to the officers of top leaders, such as the defense secretary. There are also coins made for special events, anniversaries, and even non-military leaders. So, going down a little bit, it says the most common is kind of going along with the whole Army Air Service. Pretty much the story that we just told. The lieutenant with the medallion in a small leather pouch went down behind enemy lines, captured by the enemy, had to escape out of there. So another story that this article says was there was a guy It says, while that story sounds cool, Air Force Historical Research Agency archivist Barry Spink isn't buying it. He said he'd been told in the 1990s that the tradition started in Vietnam when an Army infantry run bar tried to keep non-infantrymen, aka Pogues, away by forcing outsiders to buy drinks for the whole bar if they could prove that they had been in combat. The proof started with enemy bullets, then got a little out of control with grenades, rockets, and unexploded ordnance. So a coin-sized item emblazoned with the unit's insignia became the accepted form of proof. The tradition, now known as a coin check, continues today, hence it being called a challenge coin. Spink also sent an article called Coining a Tradition that was printed in the 1994 edition of Soldiers magazine. It offered a similar version of the Vietnam story, the World War I tale, and one other option which dates back to the early 1960s. A member of the 11th Special Forces Group took old coins, had them overstamped with a different emblem, then presented them to unit members, according to Roxanne Merritt, curator of the John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Museum at Fort Bragg, which is now Fort Liberty, I think. A former commander of the 10th Special Forces Group picked up on the idea, becoming the first to mint a coin for the U.S. military unit. The 10th Group remained the only Army unit with its own coin until the mid-1980s, when an explosion took place and everybody started minting coins. Now, I'm not sure where I heard it, but I have also heard you can go ahead and close that out there, Alamo. The story that I have heard has to deal with, and this could be completely BS. I haven't found anything. I can't find the article where the hell I heard it from. But the story that I was told was that during the Civil War, obviously, officers would wear their full ceremonial dress, like the dress blues with the shoulder boards, sash. They're wearing their full sword, all that kind of stuff. But they also would wear their full dress medals. You know, they didn't have ribbons like we have nowadays. Saber, all that kind of stuff. They didn't have ribbons. They would wear a decoration would be like an actual medal. Now, if you're familiar with what a full medal looks like, you have the fabric part, which is called the drape, and then you have the medal itself that hangs off of it. So at night, when they would go to bed, they would at least take off the tunic, the jacket part of the uniform, and they would hang it up to keep it nice, all that kind of stuff. Well, what the enlisted guys would do is they would go in there and they would cut the medal off of the ribbon drape, and they would give it to one of their comrades in arms as like an attaboy, because apparently, you know, from what I understand, like at first they didn't give out decorations and citations to enlisted guys. Like that was only,
which is actually still a pretty good tradition, to tell you the honest truth. Like, because if you think about that, like I feel like, you know, that like it's a very cool little kind of, because if you think about the fact that, if you think about the fact that, you know, if officers like, and here's the crazy shit about like the military back then, like you think about the idea that like all the kudos, and I mean like all the freaking kudos would typically go to the officers, because the officers led men.
Let me interrupt you real quick. If you think about it nowadays, I mean, you got these guys that are getting decorations just for going on deployment. You're getting on, you know, you got officers that get Bronze Stars and all this crap just for going on a deployment. And it's like they're like, oh no, it's not really that way, bro.
Yeah,
you got a guy that sat and was a fobbit in the freaking talk all damn deployment, but he got a Bronze Star. Like, kiss my whole ass.
No, freaking. But yeah, like enlisted men, like, you know, the sergeants and all that stuff. Like, it's crazy to think that, like, because I mean, I'm trying to remember when enlisted men actually started getting like recognition for like being part of that, like part of, you know, engagements and actually being recognized for that stuff. We do have to look that up, because according to the way the history, like, because the history of it back then was, you know, the officers are the ones that lead the men, you know, the officers lead
They
the
get
front,
the
whatever,
recognition, blah 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 blah.
all the recognition, even if they didn't really do much, and it was down to your staff sergeants and your sergeants and all that other stuff. And let's be honest here. I mean, enlisted men are the backbone of the military, especially the Army. You know, I'm pretty sure it's just the same way with the freaking Marine Corps.
There's
You
a
know,
hell of a lot more enlisted than there are officers.
exactly. So
Come at me, bro.
yeah, and so for me, if officers were starting to do that to kind of like be like, oh yeah, well, here, you know what I mean? This is not only does that show that whoever those officers were, they understood and respected the enlisted guys that put in the work, because it's kind of like that's the statement of, this wasn't just me, it was all of you. So here you go.
Now, from the story that I heard, I don't think it was officers that were cutting their own medals off, because you had to buy those, and those got to be kind of expensive. However, officers made more
Really?
money. Yeah.
Oh
And
yeah.
then the enlisted guys were going in there and just going, "Snoop." There you go, man. So, but yeah, I would, and if anybody knows anything about this, please feel free to leave a comment. Let us know, or if what your experience with this story is. You know, everybody's kind of got their own little bit of challenge coin lore about how this all started, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
I always thought it was kind of fun. Like, I started off when I joined the Army. There used to be this great place over on MacDill at the BX, and it was called, I think it was a guy named Arts Militaria. I had a little shop in there, and you can go in there and buy, like, you know, full color unit patches and squadron patches and all that kind of stuff. So like, I would go in there, and every once in a while I'd go out to the basic, maybe like once a month, and I would go in there and I'd probably spend like, you know, $30-40 just picking up patches. So I collected a lot of that stuff. My dad collected patches at one point when he was younger man. But challenge coins are kind of cool, especially for like the ones like, it's kind of like the ones that like you can't buy. Like, I have a bunch of them that I bought in the store, like the Shopette or the PX, the BX, whatever. You know, some generic ones, but there's also some that that I've gotten that are just kind of like super special, just because you can't get them anywhere. It's kind of like there is that company called GoRuck where they do like those physical challenges where you go out and it's kind of the whole event is kind of run very closely to like a special forces or special ops selection course where you're going through and trying to have to, you know, prove that you're worthy enough to be there. And they give out these like special GoRuck patches with their like spearhead logo that you can only get if you've been through the course and completed it. They have some generic ones that you can buy on their website, but you can only get like specific ones that are like from doing that certain type of event on like certain holidays. Like, they have some for Halloween. They had one, I think a few years back. They were doing one for on D-Day at Normandy Beach. So like, they had a special one made up, and you could only get that patch if you completed the event during that time. So it's like, yeah, that's badass. Like that, and they're like, you can't buy them anywhere. You have to put up, shut up, and tough it out. So it's pretty awesome.
Badass.
But yeah, so challenge coins are fun, you know, especially when you got those guys. I always love going into somebody's office or something where you see a bunch of coins up on a wall, and you just sit there and you just kind of start to look over and kind of browse and peruse over them, and you see different ones, like you know, just like the stories behind them and whatnot. Like, I'm going to show you some of mine real quick before we wrap up the convo here. So I had when I was working in retail, I had some folks come in. It was for the there's an organization here in Tampa called the Angelus House, and it's like I think it's like a home for like girls with like special needs or something like that, I believe. Actually, let me look that up so I'm not misquoting this shit here. Hold on a second. Angelus Foundation.
While you're looking that up, I'll go ahead and show mine too. Honestly, this is kind of Huh, what?
Whip them out. Let's do it. Whip them out.
So this is honestly, these are I think I got more coins when I was with the military police unit than I did with my regular army unit when I was actually active duty. This one I ended up actually getting from my first sergeant. This is a Bulldogs company, 320th military police company challenge coin. First sergeant recognized me for, honestly, I can't even remember what, but he saw it fitting to go ahead and call me out in front of the company. I thought I was going to get the shit reamed out of me, but he was like, "Oh
Shit,
yeah,"
what do you do this time?
yeah, and so he goes, "Oh, Specialist Alamo, you've been doing a really freaking good job, man. Here you go." Da da da. He's an old surly guy. He was an old surly guy from like freaking New York. Like he was originally from my first sergeant was originally from New York, so he was like very
That's why.
spoke with
All
that
you
kind
New
of
Yorker
thick
guys,
New
like,
York
you
accent.
guys are thick as thieves. Special
And
Ammo, yeah, man.
and he was a really good guy though.
Where
He
you
was a really
from?
good guy.
You from the Bronx? You from Brooklyn? Where you from?
And then this one I actually ended up getting
Just kidding, I
from
don't know.
Sergeant Major of the blah blah blah. Having a freaking total brain fart.
Coin, jackass.
The 208th Regional Support Group, which is essentially it encompasses like a few of the military police companies, as well as obviously some intelligence companies as well. And I was given, again, called out in front of the entire group and given this. It's actually, not gonna lie, it's actually kind of nice. So I actually ended up getting those two. That's actually really freaking cool. This one, I still can't remember how the hell I got it, but I mean, I am an Iraq War veteran, so I mean, it just very fitting. And I mean, it's a really fucking nice coin too. This is my Iraq campaign coin.
Which again, the next time I see you, I've got an Iraq coin for you too. So
Yar.
yeah.
This one, both me and Mac both got when it was an unfortunate, it was a friend of ours from high school. He actually he was in my class.
So
Go figure.
let's dude. Okay, so you brought that up. So let's talk about how like just the two ships passing in the night kind of thing. It's like you and Paul ended up in the same unit like months apart.
Same exact unit.
That's
months apart.
crazy. Like, and it's funny all the time. You hear people say, "Dude," like somebody, but oh, so and so, like I used to be my first sergeant. They were my sergeant major. This and the other. It's like small world. Like they say that all the time about the army or the military. It's like if you think about it, it really is. But go ahead and tell them that story, man.
So, little did I know when I left that, one of our buddies from high school, his name was Paul Kazupi. And I believe we've spoken Zupa. We've spoken about him before on previous episodes. I don't remember how in depth we went, but
a little bit, not bad, not much.
Paul was a great guy. He was really just a really stand up, like, very meek, very mild, like never really stirred things up all that much, but he would have your back if you really needed to have him have your back. And
I ever heard anybody say anything bad about Paul. Like he was just that kind of guy, just absolutely a stand up dude. Just like yes.
And go figure. Back then, I was very, I was a little bit more of a devoted Catholic, and him and I were going to the same freaking church, man. We were in a youth group together, all that stuff. And
you guys are going to that Catholic church right there off of 579,
St. Francis of Assisi. St. Francis of Assisi. And years go by, freaking I joined the army, freaking come back finally. you know, after about a year or so of taking a break, freaking, being in the reserves and everything, having gone back to or having gone into the part-time side of the military by joining the reserves and everything. A year goes by, I think around what, 2010-ish? Right? It was 2010, right?
When he passed,
Yeah, right?
I think so.
So around 2010, come to find out, and the crazy thing is, like, everybody was talking about, like, oh, Paul passed, man. Paul passed. He died in combat. I was like, died in combat. I was like, no kidding. Paul died in combat. He said he was never going to join the military. So I look it up.
August 8th of 2010.
Of 2010. And
because the day that he died is 3 weeks before my birthday.
Yeah. So I find out just out of nowhere. I'm like, holy crap. He's in my old unit.
G Company, 3rd Squadron, 2nd Striker Cav.
He was a medic for G Company, Ghost Company. And he was in and it blew my freaking mind. He was in Ghost Company for 3-2 Cav. The funny thing was, all the medics, like from the medical platoon, they all split off into different companies. That's really how, like, the medical platoon was all just the medics. And they would split off into the different companies, different groups, whatever. And Paul was one of those people with the medical platoon. And he served, I don't remember which platoon he served with, but I know he served in Ghost Company. Or he served with the guys from Ghost Company. But his main reporting, was HHC.
HHC. That was like his home place.
That was his home. Yeah, that was his home freaking And I just thought to myself, like, my God, if I hadn't left, me and Paul would have been serving in the same exact unit. And it absolutely threw me for a freaking loop that someone from my hometown, from my high school, the same year I graduated, ended up months apart, mind you, because apparently Paul joined up, went through basic training, all that good stuff. And I think he ended up making it to the unit, I think, March of that year. Like, it was like almost a full month after I had left 3-2 Cav that Paul ended up going to my old unit. And it was absolutely bonkers to me. Absolutely bonkers. Still to this day, I'm like, had things been different, could.
Yeah, you know what? Like, and that is such a crazy rabbit hole to go down, because like you could do that in ad nausea, and it's just like, I mean, crazy. But somebody at when they had the service at the Catholic Church, somebody was walking around, and there were quite a few people that were there, because I mean, we all went. There was just everybody. A lot of people went to the high school there, and they were all giving out these coins. I still have mine. It says, "Thank you for your service from a grateful American." And on the back of it, it's got the 5 service emblems and stuff. But yeah, so I I forgot I had it for a while. It was still sitting in my bottom pocket of my Class A jacket for a while. So it was crazy.
Yeah. And the cool thing is like, the main reason we got these was because any one of us that were there for Paul's funeral, we were in uniform. And I think at the time, I was still in, but in the reserves. I think Jay Brown was there as well.
Dude, I saw a bunch of people. I can picture their faces. I don't remember their names anymore, but there was a lot of people. I mean, this
Yeah.
this was a hometown kid, so it was like, yeah. There was a couple
Yeah,
of
man.
guys that were maybe like a year or two behind us, or in between you and me, or maybe like a year ahead of me, or something like that. There was one guy who was a Marine, he's Marine E5. You know, there was all kind of people. I mean, there was people showing up
Mhm.
from all over the place, but yeah, that was in August of 2010. That was
Yeah,
God, that
man.
was 14 years ago, man.
It's crazy to think
But
about,
yeah, they
man.
were walking around handing them out to all the service members and stuff. It was insane. But I mean, and so like sometimes challenge coins can be like that. They have a little bit more of a somber meaning and stuff. Some of them
Yeah.
have some funnier stories to them. So Did you have any more that you wanted to show, bro? Or are you good?
Um, Honestly, I mean, I only had two, but I mean, these really were just from when I was in ROTC, and these were given to me with a placard that I had for. It was because I was on the Raiders team in high school, um, and apparently it was some kind of like physical excellence type thing. Like I guess I had done really really well in
Okay, so listen, you
PT
for
and
the
stuff like
folks that
that.
don't know, this guy used to be a chiseled specimen, and I'm not saying anything bad about it now, but this guy used to be a chiseled specimen of a freaking person. There's a picture of him where he's like holding himself off straight vertical, straight horizontal, sideways off a freaking rock, and you just see like he had like 14 abs. Okay, I'm not even bullshitting. He had like a couple of spare sets down there. I was just like, what in the
Yeah,
hell? He's like, oh, that's just me screwing around. No big deal. No big deal.
I was going rock climbing.
Going rock climbing. It's one of these sideways, horizontal to the damn ground, several feet up in the air. Yeah, awesome. What did you do, man? Oh, nothing.
So, um, I guess like a couple of the people that not only SOCOM but also at the because I guess you got to get approved for the award by both. Um, so not only SOCOM but also the United States Army Special Forces Association.
Yeah.
Along with the placard that they gave me a couple coins themselves. This one was from at the time, General Mr. Lieutenant General Doug Brown. You got his little flag right there,
Who
and then you
ended
got
up
the
going on to be I believe, the commanding general of U.S. SOCOM, because
yep,
so he was a 3-star at Special Operations. That's SOCOM right there. So
and
he
then
ended up
this
being the
one was
4-star
from
in charge
the
of that.
yeah, and then this one was from the Special Forces Association right here.
That was
It's
dope.
actually it's actually badass.
If you can get it to focus.
I know, right?
Hey,
Bam! Look at
yeah,
that.
there it goes. All right. Yeah,
It's actually
that's dope.
badass.
That's badass.
So I ended up getting those for physical excellence in that in the and it it was Raiders team was probably the most fun I had back then too. Honestly, it because
It's all
I've
the
always been a
cool
very
guy.
physical
It's all the
person.
cool guy shit that you used to do. You used to make rope bridges and Swiss seats and all that stuff. And yeah,
Yeah.
if you did pretty well at that, you were in pretty good shape. I remember that.
Yep. Shit. I mean, if you remember correctly, I ran up on you while you were going 25 miles an hour and jumped
Oh,
on the hood of your
okay,
car.
okay. We're not gonna tell that story right now.
Doing
We're not gonna
Terminator
tell that story
style.
right now. We're gonna hear.
And you were like, "Oh, where the hell did you come from?" I was like, "You're not leaving me," because you drove off as I was coming out of the house.
Because I called you, I looked at you and I went, "Bitch," and then you just took off and were like, and you went up because I'm on the road. You
I
got up
went
behind
up
that
a
one.
hill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you went up a hill. And you're just like, where are you going? I'm like, oh shit! Oh god, funny times. We did the dumbest shit in high school, dude. Oh my god.
Yeah. Awesome.
So, do you mind if I share mine real quick?
Nah, I don't care, dude. I shared the hell out of mine. Go ahead.
So I've got a decent collection. I have purchased a good portion of these, just kind of like for memento purposes. There's one I've got that's got the like
Yar.
infantry service, like the infantry branch plaque on one side, and it's got the army on the other. GWAT, some other stuff. So the few that
This
I have, I
moment.
do.
Mac is sharing his challenge coins.
Thank
Go
you,
for it, Mac.
voiceover guy. Why don't you shut up? Let me talk here for a minute. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. So, this first one I got, this is the highest ranking one that I have. So, sort of like military officer wise. So, the Angelus House that I was talking about, it's a local charity that's here in Hudson, Florida, in St. Pete. And it kind of deals with, it's not just a girls' home, it's a home for folks that have like, have like, developmental challenges or disabilities, something like that. But every year they come to town and they do like a fundraiser for the Angelus House. So two of the people that are associated with that are country singer Charlie Daniels. So he came into the store I was working at. I'm like, holy shit, that's Charlie fucking Daniels.
I'm sorry.
Exactly. Yeah. Man, holy crap, that's awesome. But another person that came through is a guy by the name of Peter Shoemaker.
Georgia,
who-
for a soul.
Okay, shut up, dude. You're like you're so delayed that like, I'm like trying to talk and you just like shut up, let me finish.
I'm sorry. It was this thing about Charlie Daniels.
Time out. Shut up for a minute. Damn it. So another person that was associated with that is Peter Shoemaker, who was the chief of staff of the Army. Actually came out of retirement to take that role a second time. So we had a bunch of veterans that worked with us, service members, veterans that worked in the store. So he walked around and gave everybody his coin, which is cool because it's a dog tag, but it's got the chief of staff insignia, the chief of staff of the Army insignia that you'd find on his official service flag.
Nice.
And then on the back, it's got the warrior ethos, the U.S. Army, that kind of stuff. So that's a cool one because it's a dog tag. It's dope. It's pretty cool. I've got these two from my deployment. So this is my battalion coin from when I was on my deployment to Afghanistan. This is when I was attached to 2nd of the 116th Field Artillery Regiment. We were Task Force Scorpion, which is why you have the different branch flags there. You've got Cav Scouts, Engineers, Artillery, and of course we're the infantry flag there because we had all 4 of those MOSs inside of our battalion task force. So then we have the Scorpion on the top there, which is pretty cool. You have I have my brigade coin, which is, this thing is like freaking huge. So we got our patch there, all the different spots we were around the country, and we have all the coalition nations for Task Force Phoenix, which is pretty cool. So we got the Brits, we got the Romanians, all that kind of stuff. Now this next one is kind of interesting. It's not even a coin, but it's got an interesting story to it. So this is a poker chip, and it's from the U.S. Marshal Service. So when Alamo and I worked at a place here in Tampa, a firearms retailer. We worked at the range counter. We had this guy come through, and so it's looking back now, it's kind of funny. Yeah, and I'm not making fun. It's nice guy. It's funny because it's a bit much, but at the same time, super nice guy.
I didn't remember him until you mentioned it too, like because I was like, huh, and then you were like, oh yeah, it was this guy, and he used to wear the tactical equipment. I'm like, oh, yes.
You on Thursday, you were like, yeah, that guy. It's just I remember him. It's so funny. So this guy used to come in, and he was a U.S. Marshal. Let me share that right there. So, and it's not even a coin; it's a poker chip. So he came in and he's like, hey, I want to see if I can practice like drawing out of the holster. And I'm like, we don't really do that when the civilian populace and the customers are in here, just because of the fact that they see you doing it, they want to do it, and that's when somebody's going to shoot themselves. Like, you're going to put your eye out with that thing, like,
yeah, shoot your eye out, kid.
And I'm not saying people aren't smart with firearms, it's just that those kind of training repetitions take a lot of muscle memory. They take a lot of practice. They take a lot of muscle memory. They take a lot of focus, and you have to kind of have some time doing that. That's its own type of training iteration. So as best we could, we try to accommodate the guy. Now, when this guy came in the first time, he's in head to toe multicam. Now, mind you, multicam was just kind of coming into its own as a viable camo pattern. Like the high speed dudes were using it, like Ranger Regiment, SF, that kind of stuff. It wasn't mainstream like everybody wears now. So, and there was a couple of times when like the guy was in the store and he was just kind of bullshitting around. And we had these two guys that were there, and the one guy was from somewhere overseas, and you had to be a part of, you had to like take part in something called a visa waiver program. You had to be from a country that would allow you to sign up for this program in order to come over and shoot firearms if you weren't a U.S. citizen, if you weren't a permanent resident alien, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of federal laws and all sort of kind of crap. So the guy said, well, what if I tell you, and the guy's like, the customer I'm talking to, he's trying to find a way around it. He's like, what if I tell you that he's, from here and we have a fake ID that's not really. So this guy, whatever his name, we'll just call him John. John just kind of turns around and he kind of pulls his shirt back like this, and you see this Star Marshal badge, not this, but like you see the actual U.S. Marshal badge on his hip next to his gun. He goes, well, if you decide to do that, then I have to get involved, and that's a lot of paperwork, you understand? So the guy was just like, oh, just like you just saw the shadowy, smoky figure of him left over and stuff. So the last time I saw, now this guy also, mind you, John was also an officer in the Army. He was like a special forces captain or a major or something like this. And again, not making fun of the guy. Nice guy, super cool dude. So the last time I ever saw him, he says, hey, Mac, I just want to tell you, man, I appreciate you help working around, my schedule and stuff, and let me come in and shoot. He has this poker chip in his hand. He shakes my hand, which is how you do most of these transactions. You have it in your hand, you shake somebody's hand, and you give them the coin. So he looks at me. Now, the back of the coin says this. It's Special Operations Group, and it's got the dates on it and all this stuff. So he looks at me straight in the face, and he says, just remember, Mac, once you go black, you never go back. And I'm just like, did he really just fucking say that? He just fucking said that. Yeah. Now, mind you, for those that don't know, black meaning black ops, like, black budget, that like special ops and ninja type stuff.
Yeah.
But I was just like, there's no way.
Trailer Park Ninja.
Trailer Park Ninja. Thanks, him. Skull Can, no says I. Ninja Star.
Just walking through the trailer park. Ninja Star.
Now, the last coin I have is one that I got from my old battalion. So this is my battalion coin for 2nd of the 124 Infantry for Florida Army National Guard. That's our 53rd Brigade patch right there. And then we have the Indian head superimposed on the 2 for 2nd Battalion and all that stuff. The Florida flag's down here. Now, what's cool about this is in the shape of an arrowhead because 2nd Battalion had permission from the Seminole tribe of the state of Florida to use their colors and their motto, never surrender, down here as part of that. So that's kind of cool that we got to use an arrowhead for that. So this one just has a very unique shape. People see that and they go, oh, that's different. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty dope. So, and I was over talking to Brian. I went over and saw Brian last night, and we were kind of BSing for a minute. I was telling him about what we're talking about. He goes, dude, you remember the other coins that we got when we came back from Iraq? I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, the Never Surrender. I'm like, oh, yeah. So they made up these. Okay, there's a story. So they made up these like big brigade, like the whole battalion got a coin that had the logo on it, which is that logo there. The Florida and Country, that shield shape of the 124 Infantry. So they had a typo on them. So instead of saying never surrender, somebody put a P and put never surrender. In addition to that, it gets so much worse. It gets so much worse. So like the coins were supposed to be numbered. So like there was like 540 some odd Joes in the battalion at the time. So the coins were going to say 1 of 542. I don't know the exact number. We're just going to say that's what it is. So then like they're all individually numbered. No, they all say 1 of 542. They weren't sequentially numbered. They all just said one of. It's like, come on, that's not the kind of thing you want to make a mistake on. What are you talking
I
about?
mean, it couldn't be as bad as Armwad.
I was thinking the same thing. It's like, so my senior, your freshman year, my senior year, that we had the teacher that was in charge of editing the yearbook misspelled the name of the school. It's Armwood High School, and they spelled it with one O, Armwad, and it's just like, you can get a little sticker thing to put over the name. Like, no, that's gonna stay. No, that's fantastic right there, absolutely. So, but yeah, so I got a few more challenge coins, but like those are the ones that kind of stick out. I got one from Governor Bush when we came home. We had a big ceremony and all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
So that was pretty cool. So,
Good
so yeah,
year.
that's Governor Jib, absolutely. So that is our chit chat on. Sorry, looking for some. That is our chit chat on challenge coins. Hopefully you liked the conversation. Please, if you have some really unique or kind of like rare, I don't want to say rare, but like just some very unique looking challenge coins, please feel free to comment, send a picture. Either when this goes up on YouTube or if it's on one of our social media accounts or whatnot, that would be super awesome. Challenge coins are very unique far and wide. So if you got a really cool one or it's got a cool story, hey, share it with us. We'd love to hear that kind of stuff. And that's how we kind of keep the conversation going. So it's that time of the show where we close this stuff out and we start talking about who we are, why we do what we do, all that good stuff. So as we mentioned earlier, Alamo and I have known each other. Steph, absolutely. So as I mentioned earlier, Alamo and I have known each other for a very long time. Since high school. We used to work together outside of that. We also used to get into shenanigans, to be fair. We used to do some really dumb type stuff. When we worked together, we had this guy, buddy of ours named John, who worked the counter with us, and John was a good dude. We fell out of touch with John, and we unfortunately found out that John solved a temporary problem with a permanent solution and committed suicide. So while a few years ago, Alamo and I were talking about getting back together and kind of doing something fun that we could kind of re-engage with and just kind of, be around each other again. And we were kind of talking like, what could we do? So we found out about John, and Alamo had posted or had brought up the idea of doing a podcast. So I was like, yeah, that sounds cool and everything, but I don't know shit about a podcast. He goes, dude, they put a monkey in space. How hard can it be? I'm like, that's a good point. Those are facts. So after we found out about John, I called Alamo and I was like, dude, I said, have you heard about John? No, I didn't. Well, he's gone. This is what happened. I told him, I said, dude, I'm in. Let's do this podcast thing. So we started doing the podcast, and it's been, we're 75 episodes in. Hard to believe 3 years later, we're still going strong.
Yep.
But we started thinking about ways we could help others. So we came up with the Battle Bros Code. And what the Bros Code is basically just 4 different tenets that you can use to kind of keep yourself here. Keep yourself, from going down that lonely dark road and doing something that is irreversible. So if you can remember these 4 tenets of the Bros Code, you should be doing pretty good. So first one is be tenacious. No matter what you do in life, do it to the utmost of your ability, whether it's being a parent, whatever your job is. If you are a technician, even if you're the post office guy, or if you're a guy that cuts grass, man, go out there and do to the best of your ability. As the great Ron Swanson once said, don't half-ass 2 things, whole ass 1 thing. Okay. So be tenacious no matter what. Refuse to surrender. There are going to be plenty of times in your life when things don't go the way you want them to go. There's going to be times where you get kicked in the dirt, mud in your face, while you're trying to wave your banner all over the place. I don't know why I just quoted a Queen song, but it seemed very apropos right there. So I was like, yeah, let's go with it. How those things.
We will rock you.
Exactly. So No matter what happens, you just got to remember that you can't quit, because if you quit, you let those evil forces win. So no matter what happens, refuse to surrender, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, keep going, moving towards what you're trying to accomplish. Obliterate your obstacles. Kind of going hand in hand with the last one that we just talked about. When you have those things that come up, and sometimes they're in the form of obstacles, sometimes you have to kind of backtrack a little bit, go through the woods, go down the way, come out of the woods, pick up the main road where you were traveling before. Sometimes you have to climb over a wall, under a wall, whatever the case may be. Sometimes you have to breach the wall or the door with some C4s and Bangalores, or sometimes, hey, you just kind of drive an armored vehicle, do the thing. Whatever you got to do, it's all good. Obliterate your obstacles, no matter what they are. Most importantly, S, seek out help in a time of need. You know, like we said with John, there's unfortunately nothing we can do to bring him back. And it's too bad, because he was a guy worth knowing. And just funny dude, loved to laugh, full of life. The stories you hear about John are just amazing. Working with him, just boy, that guy loved to fuck around at work. It was awesome. This is so much fun. But if we could only have been there for him like he deserved, he might still be here, and we wouldn't have to do this podcast, which would be a bummer about not the podcast. But on the absolute plus side, John would still be here. So if you ever feel like you are in need of help and you don't know who to reach out to, if you don't have a friend, a family member, a coworker, if you don't have someone that you served in the military with or at a job with, there are options out there. There is the national. If you feel like you're going to go down that dark road and you're thinking about hurting yourself, please don't. Stop. There is a suicide prevention hotline at 1-800-273-8255. Again, that's 1-800-273-8255, or for the last four digit styles, type the word TALK, TALK. You can also dial 988. Again, that's 988. They are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They have somebody there to help you in the event that you need somebody to talk to. Don't go down that road alone. We are, by design, social creatures. We're not really supposed to be alone. We thrive when we're in contact and community with other people. So if you can remember those four things: be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, and seek out help in a time of need. It might not be all the way okay, but it's a damn good start. The biggest thing that we're trying to do is prevent this right here. This is on average the number of veterans that commit suicide a day, which is 22 a day. That's the reason why we have 22 episodes in a season. So why our first episode, the end of our first season, episode 22, was talking about suicide. We like to do these fun episodes. We also like to talk about these things that can be kind of sort of pseudo taboo, and want to break that stigma of being like, oh, we don't talk about that. Well, yeah, we do. This isn't Bruno. We can talk about Bruno here. Okay, we're not just gonna leave it on the wall there. So, but again, if you can remember those 4 tenets of the Bros Code, you're gonna be off to a good start at keeping yourself here and keeping yourself around. So I'm going to switch it over to Alamo at this point. He's going to close out social media stuff, and then we're going to get the hell out of here for this week, and we'll see you next week. So, Alamo, take it away.
If you would like to contact, I'm kidding. No, seriously, no, but if you would like to get in contact with us, or excuse me, if you would like to follow us on the social medias, you can do that over on the Facebook.
Careful.
Over at Facebook.com/BattleBros.podcast. You can also do that on the Instagram, also Meta, at BattlesBros_podcast. You can also follow us on the on the X, formerly Twitter.
Screwing around, dude.
At Battle Bros PC, and what you call it? Blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
you can actually instant message us on every single one of those platforms, and let's just face it, y'all. If you guys are feeling kind of down, if you guys are kind of feeling kind of not so public about the situation you're in, there are options for you to contact us privately. Um, you can always contact us via our Gmail, which is battlebrospc@gmail.com. I say it every single episode. Look, if you want to keep it private, if you feel like there's nobody else you could talk to, you can message us, email us, let us know, hey, I'm feeling down and I didn't know who else to turn to. And, I'm feeling like this. We're here for that. We are willing to listen. We're willing to read the messages. And, if it means stopping just one of the 22 a day, that's worth it to us. So I encourage you guys, definitely don't hesitate. If it's worn you down, if you feel like you can't contact anybody else, if anything else, if you have somebody that is feeling that way and they're feeling that way, give them this email so that they can go ahead and contact us. Or heck, give us their email and we'll reach out to them and say, hey, a friend of yours reached out and we're just here to say, hey, freaking, we're here for you. We love you. Just think before you act, if you don't like catching us on the YubTub, you can also catch us over on Rumble. You could do all you have to do is go to rumble.com, or if you have the Rumble app, which now the Rumble app is very starting to become a little bit more common. You can go ahead and search Battle Bros, all one word, Battle Bros, all one word in the search bar, and you can find our podcast there. You can also find us on all the current and most popular audio platforms. You can find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google, I believe even on Amazon Prime, Stitcher. Yeah,
We're on Amazon Prime.
If I remember correctly, I think we're on Amazon.
Joke.
I think it's Amazon Music. Excuse me, Amazon Music.
That's dope, dude.
So we're out there, y'all. We're out there, peoples. So if you want to catch us on any one of those platforms, you could do that as well. There, that way you can listen to us if you're driving. We don't need you watching because then you could get into an accident. But yeah, definitely road safety, guys. Come on.
To caveat off of what Alamo was saying, the only one you can't listen to on Spotify is episode 10, which is where we talked about 9/11 because it was the 20th anniversary of that. We had an issue with the computer program we were using at the time, so it kind of crapped out on us. But you can always play it on your car from Android Auto, Apple Auto, whatever. Just go off of YouTube, listen to it on there. Don't watch it, but just listen to it off of that, and you're good to go. No problem.
And now there's YouTube Music, so I mean, honestly, if you go onto YouTube Music, you'll be able to listen to us there too, if I remember correctly. So, it's not even that big of a deal.
Is that it, man?
Yeah.
So one last shout out we want to give, it's to our good friend Amelia. She has a little thing that she does on the side. It's called Heart to Hand Homestead. She makes homemade soaps and whatnot. They're awesome. They're not expensive. They're handmade. They're hypoallergenic. If you got sensitive skin like me, if everything makes you fucking break out and you like the hives and stuff, give this a check. We got the website down here. It is etsy.com/shop/heart to hand homestead. Give it a check out. Give it a look see. Check it out. Good stuff. She's been our friend. She's been a friend of mine for a lot longer than we care to admit online. Care to admit out loud. But yeah, check her out. It's good stuff. You'll enjoy it. I'm telling you, it's awesome. So yeah. On that note, we want to wrap it up and say thank you for stopping by to check out our latest and greatest episode of the Battle Bros podcast. This has been episode 075, talking about the history of challenge coins. Don't know yet what we're going to talk about next week, but we thank you for taking the time to watch and or listen to our show. Just remember that sometimes the message is not about what you need to hear. It might be something that you can pass along and pay it forward to somebody else down the road where they hear it and go, hey, I'm in a bad spot, but they kind of gave me something to think about. So I'm not going to become one of those 22. I get asked all the time by my daughter, how many followers do you have? I'm like, I honestly don't know. I mean, we have some. That's great. If you're one of those followers, you're awesome. Thank you. But like
Indeed.
Almo said, if we can stop somebody from being one of those 22, that's a very crucially staggering, more, just thunderous statistic that we can stand behind. Followers are great, but that would be something that we can really, really get behind. So
Yeah.
just remember, pass it along, pay it forward. You never know who needs to hear what we have to say. So, or hear something along this lines, even if it's not from us. So, again, that being said, thank you for joining us this week as we talk about challenge coins. This has been episode 075 of the Battle Bros podcast. Myself, I am Mac. This gentleman over here is Alamo. Thank you so much for stopping by. Just remember, be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, seek out help in a time of need. If you can remember those 4 things, you're off to a good start. So on that note, we'll see you next week, and look forward to seeing you then. So take it easy, and awesome.
Battle Bros out.